The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 40 of the Daily Mother Swole. Flex them if you got them. Maybe we'll get some Q&As at the end of this one because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested in the Paleo Diet. So for this lovely hump day, we're going to talk about nutrition again. And one of the things I want to get out of the way with the Paleo Diet is that it's not so much a diet as it's just really eating healthy. This has gotten popularized by CrossFit as it is like a hunter-gatherer style nutritional program or style of eating. It's not so much that it's far-fetched. It's not like extreme low-carb diet. It's not extreme in any sense except that it's cutting out a lot of the bullshit that people are eating today. So it kind of goes back to the Paleolithic era before agriculture. So you're really cutting out a lot of things that you're eating today, mostly processed foods. You're not eating dairy, you're not eating refined sugar, you're not eating grains, you're not eating a lot of salt, you're not eating a lot of beans, you're not eating peanuts, things of that sort. So you're cutting out a lot of the new junk that it is, that's being consumed nowadays. So the paleo diet is actually a revert back to a healthier style of eating in general. You're focusing on grass-fed meats. You're focusing on fish and seafood, obviously from properly sourced locations or wild caught if possible. Fruits, vegetables, you're eating eggs, hopefully, cage-free or pastured eggs, nuts and seeds, walnuts, almonds, sunflower seeds, and healthy oils like avocado and coconut. So you're getting a lot of healthy nutrients. You're cutting out the process and you're eating back to normal in a sense, back to the way human beings were designed. Now, you can have two debates here. Okay, I'm definitely in favor of paleo. I'm not saying you have to eat in this way, but it makes sense. A lot of times people see great results with paleo because you're just cutting out the shit. You're cutting out dairy, which you shouldn't be drinking or eating anyway. You're cutting out grains, which a lot of people have intolerances or inflammation to. We talked about food intolerances the other day, and just because you don't have an allergic effect or you don't have celiacs doesn't mean you're not having cellular inflammation or any kind of issues with leaky gut syndrome from consuming grains. So this is a concern. This is a concern. Just because you don't have an allergy, you might go to the doctors and get an allergy test. You might show up negative, but doesn't mean you don't have an intolerance to grains or to gluten. You're cutting out processed foods. You're not eating fast foods. You're not eating refined sugars. You're not drinking sodas. You're not eating a lot of candy or any candy. So the paleo diet really goes back in time, even before we were making bread, even before pasta, before any of this agricultural era. So whatever you could hunt, whatever you could pick up as a caveman, that's the style of food that you're consuming. So you can have a debate in this sense, and let's just go back. I'm not saying paleo is bad. Paleo is a great way to eat. But let's go back to the logic. If you're talking to someone, they're saying, well, we should go back to the way cavemen ate. That's the way we're supposed to eat. Yeah, but human beings also created agriculture. We also discovered that we can grow things. We also discovered that we can process things in different ways. It's an interesting concept because when you start debating how you should eat, well, we should do this because this is the way it used to be. Well, this is the way it is now, and we're here because we were smart enough and we were logical enough and we had the intellect to come this direction. So who's to say where we are now is incorrect? I'm not saying everything we're doing is healthy, but who's to say that technology is bad when we created it? Who's to say this isn't the way it's supposed to be? Who's to say this isn't the way it's supposed to go? Just because we used to do something a certain way doesn't mean that's the way we should continue doing it. I'm not arguing with food. A lot of times the problems today are because the food processing and the food industry changed a lot more dramatically and a lot quicker than our evolutionary scale. But who's to say? There's a lot of other factors that go into this, and who's to say that one thing is right over on that point alone? Who's to say it's right just because we used to do it? That's not really a quality argument. But the fact is we did used to eat this way, and it does cut out a lot of the shit that we have proven that is really, bad for most people. Let's put it that way. Bad for most people. Not everything is bad for everyone, but it's bad for most people. So you're eating healthier, cutting out all the processed things. And the reason why you're cutting out legumes, you're cutting out beans, soybeans, all those things, they're really not good for you. Those types of food, legumes really aren't that great for you. A lot of people have allergic or intolerances to those things. Grains, likewise. And dairy, refined sugar, processed foods, table salt, those are all things that people generally have intolerances to. So these are negatives. These are negatives to your nutrition. If you're struggling with your weight loss, if you're struggling with muscle growth and you have extra water weight, these are things that you should cut out. I would definitely recommend trying paleo. One of the final points that I want to make about paleo is the kind of debate whether potatoes are paleo or not. Now, generally, paleo shuns away any kind of foods that are high on the glycemic index, meaning through testing, they found out that these foods, if you're a high GI, if you're a food and you have a high glycemic index, it means that your body impacts your blood sugar more or quicker. So it absorbs quicker. It might spike insulin. It might be more of a food that might potentially store body fat because you're releasing a rush of insulin, and it might be more sugar, glucose, or glycogen than your body needs that time, and it'll store it as triglycerides. So potatoes are high. White potatoes are generally higher glycemic index. Nutritionally, we'll get into this probably on a whole other daily Swole. Nutritionally, white potatoes and sweet potatoes aren't that different, but white potatoes generally have a higher glycemic index, and they're generally shunned from the paleo, and a lot of times people shun potatoes away as well, but you can have your sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes aren't bad for you. They're not going to really affect. They're a good part of a nutritional diet. They have great in vitamin A. But nutritionally dense-wise, they're not that much different from white potatoes. However, if you're not trying to bulk up and if you're not eating that right around a workout time, I'd be careful of eating too many potatoes in itself, especially if you're trying to lose a lot of weight. Be careful of eating a lot of potatoes. If you can, focus more on lower glycemic carbohydrates. You can look up charts on lower glycemic index, but also just stay away from the higher starchy carbohydrates. Sweet potatoes would be a little bit better because of the lower glycemic index. Also, when it comes to white potatoes, in terms of a reason why it could be shunned from a paleo diet, also kind of part of the elimination diet, which we talked about the other day, that white potatoes are part of the nightshade family. I don't know if you've ever heard of nightshades, but these are all other topics I want to get into a little bit more. Nightshades are a group of foods that have what are known as glycoalkaloids, and those things can cause leaky gut syndrome in people. They can cause a lot of intolerances. Some other things that are part of that nightshade family are bell peppers, tomatoes, and also eggplant. So those are some things that are associated with nightshades. It's just a group that's called nightshades, and some people can have issues with that. So if you have allergies to one of those things, let's say I can't eat tomatoes. I blow up. I have a bad reaction. Well, guess what? You're not good with white potatoes either. You're not good with bell peppers, and you're not good with eggplant. So make sure you're not eating any of those things, or look into it. Be aware. That's why it's good to write things down and keep a journal, because you can figure out how your body reacts to certain foods. So if you are going to choose a food, if you're going to choose a potato, for example, and you have a nightshade intolerance, sweet potatoes are obviously the way to go. Okay? Paleo, not a bad thing, not a bad direction to take, not a bad diet. The word diet gets a bad reputation because everything seems like a scheme. It seems like, a certain way of eating, like I have to eat this program. Well, diet, nutrition, it's just food. It's just food. A diet is just a way of saying, you're going to eat these things mostly. You're going to eat this plan. A diet's just a nutritional plan. It's just a style of eating. It's just a method of eating. If you're just eating random stuff, you don't have a set diet. You don't have a set plan. Understand that this is one way to consume. You don't have to go full paleo. You can go mostly paleo. I still wouldn't recommend doing a lot of grains. I wouldn't recommend doing legumes, soybeans, peas, lentils. I would get rid of all that stuff. It's generally not beneficial in terms of carbohydrates. Stay more towards white or brown rice. Stay more towards the potatoes. For your carbohydrates, fruit, vegetables, those are more beneficial. And also keep your carbohydrates around when you work out. Watch them too much later in the evening when you're not using a lot of energy. Keep them around your workouts, spread them out, use lower glycemic index carbohydrates, and we'll get more into those individual topics coming up. The glycemic index, we'll get more into nightshades. We'll get more into these types of nutritional topics because I think they're very important. Everyone seems to really enjoy these nutritional talks a lot. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go on Snapchat at Swolenormous and message me. Message me questions, things that you want to hear, things that you have questions on. I've already been snapping more about what I eat during the day. I think a lot of you responded. I know a lot of you responded and wanted more of my own personal nutritional plan. So I'm putting a lot more information on that out there on Snapchat. You could also hit me up on Instagram. Just make sure you message me. Email me, swolenormous@gmail.com. Check out my website, contact me, get in touch with me, and let me know what you want to hear about on the Daily Swole. Any of these topics, we can go into a lot more detail, and we will. We're doing it every day. Every day I'm here, so every day is a new topic, a new chance for content. So let me know if there's anything you want to hear specifically. Hit me up on Snapchat, hit me up anywhere. Thank you so much for joining Paleo Diet. Give it a try. It's not a CrossFit fad. It's just a style of eating, and it's a very healthy one. It's a very good choice, especially if you're all out of options or if you're looking for something new. It's definitely a good choice. So don't close your eyes and don't turn your head just because you might have heard it being associated with CrossFit. It's just a very, very basic way of eating, going back to our ancestral roots and cutting out a lot of the shit that you see out there today. So it's definitely a good way to eat, definitely a good philosophy to follow. So thank you so much for joining this edition, episode 40 of The Daily Mother Swole. Flexing, making some sick gains. Can't wait to work out today. I hope you enjoy your workout on today's hump day. I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern time on The Daily Swole. Deuces. Peace out. Enjoy your day.